Thank you for joining us here on Earn the Right, your audio platform for building reputation-based authority. What we're all about is turning credibility into recognition and recognition into opportunity. This show is for credible founders, professional experts, and solo practice owners who have earned their stripes and are ready to amplify their voice. The podcast is made up of 4 different tracks. Now, they're different tracks, but they are all interrelated. Today's track is Pocket PR Essentials. Think of Pocket PR Essentials as your audio playbook for mastering PR, content, and digital communications in a way that's strategic, sustainable, and respectful. So let's get into this particular track, Pocket PR Essentials. Pocket PR Essentials, episode number 5, Marketing versus PR, the black, the white, and the grey. This too is a meaty episode, but we've got to get through this one to get to the other side. Did you know that much of your marketing, and I'm using air quotes here, is actually PR? Let me clear a path here for you. Just like PR, marketing is largely misunderstood, I reckon, in the business world, in the media world, and it's often being equated simply to running ads or any activity that promotes a brand. I can tell you now, there's a whole lot more to marketing than that. Think market research, product development, crafting of service offers, pricing strategies, market positioning, sales messaging, public packaging and sales collateral, customer service, sales funnel development, SEO. I mean, the list is really, really long. And it's a complex topic, just like public relations is, which makes it really hard for us running businesses, that's for sure. And yes, like PR, where people think PR is about generating media publicity, it's a part, but a small part. A lot of people think all the various promotional activities, such as advertising, whether it's digital or traditional media channels or paid search or sponsorship or, branded events, any of that stuff, they think that is the marketing remit. And it's, again, just one small part of it. So obviously things become a little bit more intricate when it comes to large companies and brands, but for most businesses that operate on the smaller end of the commercial spectrum, for better or worse, marketing is often consigned to that promotional bucket, just like PR is consigned to the media publicity bucket. And while maybe some people will pay a bit of lip service to the crafting of service offerings and brand positioning and that sort of things, at the end of the day, when people say marketing, they're talking about promotion. Theoretically speaking, now we did a tiny bit of theory around public relations in the previous episode. In this one, I'm going to be a tiny little smidge of theory when it comes to marketing. But speaking theoretically, the cornerstones of marketing have been for a very, very, very long time: product, price, placement, and promotion. And that theory has evolved significantly in recent years, obviously, as the world has changed significantly. And now experts and academics have expanded those 4 Ps that have been traditionally known for many, many, many years to 7 Ps. So we're talking about product, price, promotion, place, people, packaging, and process. So there's a lot that falls under all of those things. Now, I'm not going to get deep into any of that here because that's not my aim, But I think, again, we need to understand PR, we need to understand marketing and where they differ and where they perhaps overlap. And that's going to be an ongoing theme. But what I want to do right now in this episode is to provide you with a baseline of what marketing is so I can best illustrate what the PR alternative looks like. And of course, make no mistake, there is a mountain of grey in between. So please, let's not get into semantics over this comparison. But I really want it for food for thought, and I'd be really interested in hearing from you. You have my email on what you think about this particular comparison between marketing and PR. So perhaps let me unpack this a little bit by way of comparison. And again, a little bit of grey, there is some black, there is some white. But I'm going to look at where can be significant crossover and where confusion starts and continues. So let's look at social media, because marketers use social media, PR people use social media. Do they use it in the same way? Potentially not. So I'm going to do this with a number of different areas and modalities, and you'll see that you'll come to understand over in a minute why there are two different ways of looking at things. Think two lenses, same but different. All right, so social media. Under marketing, how do marketers approach social media? Or, sorry, in my language, should. What should fall under each one of these, because they cross over left, right, and centre. So under marketing, social media, this is what marketing should be doing. They should be producing organic content that's designed to sell a product or service with calls to action, etc. They should be using social media to showcase products and creating content that supports the sales process, i.e. content that addresses common customer roadblocks and objections. And they also should use social media to provide customer support, to field inquiries, that side of things. When it comes to social media and PR, yes, it's very much around content and participation. On content, it's around building visibility, influence and trust, showing the faces of company leaders, positioning the company and reinforcing its position in the marketplace and the reputation that it has. It could be about showing people workplace culture and from an employer branding perspective, what it's like to work at the company. And, thought leadership is a very big thing that PR people do, and they can use content through social media to build a thought leadership positioning in the marketplace. Okay, when I said there was two parts, there was the content and the participation. This is about using social channels to reach out to connect with and build relationships with content creators, influencers, and journalists, as well as brand advocates, people who are really big advocates for your brand, supporters of what it is you're doing. And as I said, employer branding posts, highlighting workplace culture, etc. So reaching out, either creating the content and reaching out to people and building relationships is where PR should be using social media. All right, paid social. This really will fall more under a marketing remit, and that's with ads designed to convert prospects to customers. That's it. Whether it's to buy something straight away, to download an ebook, to attend an event, to click here to book in a time to see a product demonstration. That all falls under a marketing remit with paid social ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. PR can use paid social, can and does. But I believe where their area starts and finishes really is to use paid social to amplify strategic content. Not get into the ads to convert prospects and customers. That's marketing's role. That's what they're good at doing. PR should be there about, we're doing some great content, but we just need to reach more eyeballs. Then we amplify through paid means. That's it. SEO, another one which is interesting. It bounces between both marketing and PR. Can have a crack at SEO. Now, SEO is largely considered to be a marketing function, and I would agree with that. It's around driving traffic to your website to kick off the customer journey towards conversion, get them into the marketing funnel, as it were. When it comes to PR, and you might be surprised that there's not too many, but there are a few agencies in England particularly who are PR agencies that have bought SEO agencies. So that gives you a little bit of an indication of where SEO fits from a PR perspective. And where I see SEO being important for PR there's really only a couple of areas there. Number one is earned backlinks. Now, that's a bit jargony, but earned backlinks is if you get an article up in Forbes magazine and they link back to, you've been able to get a link in there that refers back to another article you've written on your blog or your name or your bio, and it links back to your website. That is an earned backlink. It doesn't just happen. You haven't paid for it, you haven't bought it. You've earned the right by writing that article, being a trusted source of information on whatever this topic is, and they've covered you, but they've sent a link back. Another example might be you're a guest on someone else's podcast And they do, in their show notes of that podcast, they say connect with Trevor and here's a link back to his website, etc., etc. That's an earned backlink. And it is still, the idea of that is to show up in search engine searches. The second part of SEO and PR is owning a thought leadership concept, framework, intellectual territory that's really important to your business. Now, a couple of ideas on what I call it intellectual territory. Some people call it thought leadership concepts. But if you look at someone like Seth Godin, an amazing blogger, a marketing guru, a best-selling author for decades, he coined the phrase permission marketing many, many years ago. He wrote the book on it. And now permission marketing is part of the vernacular. But hopefully, if you've written enough about it and you become the trusted source and the go-to resource on that topic, hopefully you come up highest in the search engine rankings because, it's your phrase. So if strategically you've got a phrase or a thought leadership positioning or an area that you want to dominate intellectually and people get to know you in that respect, then you could do some SEO around that. There's other people. Mark Schaefer has written a book called Content Shock that grew out of an article that he wrote that went viral. So, I'm not so sure he's deliberately out there trying to get Content Shock up the rankings. But if that was really important to him, he could do that, is what I'm saying. If you put in Content Shock, he's going to come up anyway. David Meerman Scott had newsjacking. That to me is an intellectual territory. Amanda Natvidad, she's a marketer. She talks about zero-click content. That's her lexicon, her idea, her concept. And if she wants to own that, then she could do some SEO content around that. And to me, that's still a PR exercise. So that's SEO, a lot of grey area in SEO. But to me, it's really probably more of a marketing function to drive traffic and become known for certain keywords. Sponsorship is a grey area for sure. I guess if you looked at from a marketing perspective, when they get involved in sponsorships and, coming from a background where my agency did a lot of sponsorship leverage, the marketers, they did a deal with a big sporting event or a sporting property or an entertainment property. And, they had their name in lights and they did all this sort of stuff. The PR in that respect was to leverage that sponsorship spend. But normally it's the marketing team who will identify sponsorship as a strategy to reach more people, to connect with them, and to be able to associate their brand with a popular sport or entertainment property, for example. When it comes to PR and sponsorship, they're probably more niche, more targeted in terms of, for example, sponsoring an industry awards event or partnering with a non-profit organisation. PR teams within organisations will often partner with a community initiative or a social initiative as well. So it's more maybe a partnership. Now, there might be a paid element to that, but there's just a little bit of nuance between when a marketer gets involved and when a PR person gets involved. And believe me, it can go both ways. I've seen that happen. I've worked with both over decades. Events is another one because events and sponsorship can get quite, in similar territory. But when I'm talking about events, I'm talking about putting on events and running events. And there are so many different types of events, let's be fair. Marketers usually do big stuff, so big, large branded events or public stunts and that type of thing. That's when marketers tend to get involved. Again, I'm probably edging more towards the bigger end of town on this, and this is based on my experience. But when PR get involved in events, it's probably more media and influencer type events, road shows, that side of things. Maybe some really strategic industry round tables they organise, get the influencers around the table. Maybe it's they hold breakfast events with speakers and invite clients, that side of things. To me, this is all about building relationships and forging a reputation in the industry. And PR might also create a public stunt specifically to generate media interest. So one of the companies that I co-owned many years back was an experiential PR firm, and a lot of that was creating stunts to get people interested directly, but also give the media something to talk about. So that's probably the difference between the two. And again, there's going to be some overlap there as well. Don't take this as completely 100% gospel, but again, I'm trying to give you a bit of a feel for the nuances between how marketing works and how PR works on similar types of functions like social media marketing and paid social and SEO and sponsorship and events. Let's keep going because we're going to get down to content. This is a longer than usual episode. I apologize for that, but I do want to give you a bit of a fuller picture on this meaty topic. So testimonials, when marketers get hold of testimonials, they love testimonials, short and snappy, social proof. You see them on websites and it serves a purpose. It gives people comfort and validation towards the end of the sales process often. Then you get, if PR people get hold of testimonials, hopefully they do more than just get a sound grab. That's great. That's a good starting point. But I always urge to go deeper with your clients and your customer stories and your client profiles, and you start talking about them using your platform to promote them. And yes, this is again where the nuance is. Yes, they're going to say somewhere along the line, when I used your product or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's going to be more about them. Okay, conscious of time on this one, I'm going to split this into two. So we've just done part one, and in the next episode, we're going to do part two of this particular theme. So catch you then.